Hello and welcome to the DIF, the online festival of ideas. 4,500 Eiffel Towers worth of electronic waste are thrown away every year. That's 44.7 million tons of electronic waste. And that means toxic emissions, that's new resources that need to be extracted, and that's also a lot of value lost. Reuse and remanufacturing of electronic devices could hold the key to keep these products, materials, and components in use for longer. However, beliefs such as used and remanufactured devices are just not good enough, and simply people are not interested in these devices are very common. However, and thankfully, today we have with us Ruth Mugge, user perception expert, and Steve Haskew, remanufacturing and reverse logistics expert, who will join us, who are here with us today. They have already joined us, and will help us explore what is really possible in terms of remanufacturing and whether people are or not interested in used devices. And before we kick off, I would like to tell all the viewers that you can type in your question in the comment box to the right of the session page, and we'll have time for questions during the session and also a couple of minutes at the end. So feel free to type in there any thought, any question that you have in the topic. And before we go any further, Steve, could you help us with explaining what remanufacturing means and how it's different from fixing or from refurbishing, just so that we all know what we're talking about?
Thank you, Marcos. Yeah. Hi, everyone. For us, it is laptop technology, so I can only really refer to that particular product line. But I think it's fair to say if you consider remanufacturing as an industrial process, as opposed to a cottage industry, refurbish might be something that I could do if I was at home by myself and then sell on maybe eBay. And remanufacturing is a process that looks to disassemble, to upgrade, repair, reassemble, and then on sell. So the two differences are just taking something, making it fit for purpose, and then selling it. The second one is taking the remanufacturing process, applying an industrial process around it, and then delivering a product that there is no compromise to the user, is how we would see it.
So you're basically delivering a product that you say with no compromise. You mean it can compete with new devices?
Very much so. Yeah, we sell our products against a new technology as opposed to a second-hand technology. So we are a secondary equipment manufacturer rather than a refurbisher. So we believe that our products compete with new technology. Yes.
Okay. And just to, we say remanufacturing can help keep products and materials in use, but how much longer can we keep products in use through remanufacturing? Could you give us a sense of that?
Of course, that's a good question. The product in terms of remanufacturing is very much aligned to the core, if you like. So when we receive products in that have already been used and we're going to remanufacture them, if they've been engineered and made in a poor condition in the first place through inferior materials, then the ability to keep them in the condition to present to the new user needs to be thought about. So when you select a product for remanufacturing, it's important that you understand the integrity of the product itself, and then of course you need to think about the needs of the user and how long. How they are affected by technological advances. So that might look like the old Nokia mobile phone, for instance. It's not a smartphone. It cannot get you through the internet, and so for the user experience, it isn't good enough. They're compromised. Therefore, they will go to a smartphone environment. But we believe that with our technology, that we can keep it in use for up to 12 years. That can be demonstrated by a project we did with, it was called an Apple 1181. It's a particular Apple Macintosh product. And we took 15,000 units from the American school system. We remanufactured them here sold them into the UK market. And they were 9 years old when we received them, and we gave them a 3-year warranty. And as a test case, we've not had one unit back from the field. So we know that the product is more than fit for the purpose for which it was remanufactured.
And that's a really great point, and I mean that's a very exciting figure to know that we can keep products such as laptops in use for 12 years. But maybe a question for you, Ruth: do people want a laptop that's 12 years old? How do users perceive these products?
Hi everybody. Yeah, it's an interesting question indeed. If you look at how people look at products, then clearly there's a market for secondhand products. We see that also online there's a lot of people selling secondhand products, and then people like to also use those products as well. To what extent they will use them, keep on using them for example 12 years, it really depends on several things. First of all, indeed, will those laptops also perform the way they should be doing? So as Steve was already mentioning, you should make it possible for people to keep the performance up to date. Otherwise, they have some sort of obsolescence. Sorry for that. So there's certain risks that people see in remanufactured products, and that's one of them. So you need to prevent that people see like, okay, if there's a big risk that I, in the end, have a machine that is just not working in the way that I want it to work, then it limits them for going for those types of products. But if the product can still keep being up to date and they can still use it for the things that they want, then of course, why can't they just use a product for 12 years?
And I mean, you just mentioned risks and well, whether users think that there's risks involved with the product, and well, what can a retailer do to dispel these risks, or how can they help the users, the consumers think, well, this is a good idea, it's a good investment?
Yeah, you can do several things about it actually. The first thing is that you can do is through the design of the thing. So indeed, as you have modular devices that are just being able to be upgraded, then people already see like, okay, if I have this device, I can still actually use it over time because I can actually upgrade it. For example, the battery, I can upgrade the battery, or I can improve my camera, or whatever they want to do. So there's design elements that people and companies can actually put in the design so that they can be more interesting for remanufacturing. But there's also room for marketing and for this information perception. Because at the moment, people often don't know what remanufacturing or refurbishment is about. So they just see it as an ordinary second-hand product. And of course, that it's not. It has much more performance and much more reliability checks than just a second-hand product. So there's also some sort of information that needs to be provided to people like, okay, this is what remanufacturing is about. This is actually the benefits that you can get out of it in order to reduce those risks of associating it with inferior performance. Because as people see it as just a second-hand product, they have this inferiority association with it. And of course, that doesn't help with the acceptance of the product. So there's partly marketing, I would say, and promotion, and partly also the design and trying to put things in the design. And of course, there's much more opportunities in the design than just the modularity, I have to say.
Yeah. And the question of design, well, at least it made me think of another issue that we've come across in our work with electronics and thinking, what a circular electronic system looks like. And that's the pace of technological development. It's been argued that because technology has been developing so fast, you just can't keep stuff in use for very long. However, Steve, with your number, that the 12 years, that really stuck on my mind, and my question is, how do you deal with this fast pace of technological development? Is it a problem, or actually, well, as you said, you just, through remanufacturing, for example, you can just keep a lot of the products and components in use?
I think that's a good question. Remanufacturing can keep products in use for longer, so that's only a benefit to everybody from a sustainability point of view, particularly from a circular economy push. With the particular project that we did, we had those products still working for 12 years, but we are a shadow supplier. So what that means is we rely on the innovation of our OEM partners to design product that we sit behind. So typically we would take a machine that is, say, 3 years old, work with that, and we are able to close the loop by having a re-looping process with our supply chain to the customer. That then enables the customer to make decisions at point of change. I think it would be unfair of anyone to make a statement that if someone buys a piece of technology today, that piece of technology will last for 12 years without being serviced. In the same way that you wouldn't buy a car, drive it for 12 years without stopping, putting it into the garage, and whatever magic they do, happens. So I think there's just a change of behavior to when is new enough. And it was interesting what Ruth had to say about the user experience, because from our end, once the product's taken out of the box, let's say, it's no longer new, it's secondhand. And so it's the change of user behavior to what they need versus what's available, and aligning the two.
And in the topic of design also, is there a role in design, Ruth, to make products attractive for longer to people, or is it?
I definitely see there's a huge potential there for design. If you look at the benefits, because in the end, the product should have certain benefits to be selected by the consumer. So they, in a way, when people start buying a laptop, for example, they weigh the benefits of the different devices with the risks of the different devices. So if you compare a new laptop with a remanufactured laptop, then you see like, okay, the remanufactured laptop has certain maybe performance risks, and you want to compensate for that. Usually now the remanufactured device is offered on a lower price. So there's a financial benefit to compensate the fact that it's not new anymore. In a way, that's a nice benefit because people benefit, they have to pay less. But there's also a little bit tricky there because the financial benefit is, the fact that it has a lower price may also suggest in people's perception that the quality is actually less. Because there's a strong correlation in people's minds about price and quality. So there's a tricky benefit in that sense, which is not so useful in this case because you actually want to show that the performance is just as good as the new one. Another benefit would, of course, be the environmental benefits. And that's also something, again, people don't often know about it. So that's something to promote more. But you could also search as designers, and as a design researcher, I'm really looking at opportunities there to see are there any other benefits that we can provide. So in addition to those two that are clearly there, the financial and environmental, can you, for example, give some sort of like maybe a story to the remanufactured laptop? And as a nice example of how that would work is if you look at antiques, for example. Antiques is something that actually people value a lot just because it's so old. So the whole intention that like used and old products are just not preferred doesn't work for an antique. Because suddenly there people think like, hey, I have this antique chair and it's beautiful and it's great because it's so old and because so many people have used it. So there's like, but then it's much more the story that it's whole.
And maybe a question about that. Is there any way that we could, how do antiques compare with, for example, laptops? Is there any way that antique laptop could still perform to the necessary standard, but at the same time have this added value, this user experience of feeling you're using something that's been in there for a long time, that has a real history?
Yeah, but I think there's like two different paths to go to, because on one hand, there's the functional thing. Of course, if you have an antique chair, you should be able to sit on it still, because otherwise, it doesn't make that much sense. So with the laptop, again, it needs to work. So in that sense, the whole manufacturing process that Steve was talking about is needed. But on the other hand, you can also create certain additional things in the design. So, for example, one very straightforward thing could be, for example, aging with dignity. You have some sort of patina effects in antique chairs sometimes because of the leather and how that changes over time, which makes it more interesting than just a new leather chair. And you could think of different types of materials in laptops as well in order to make this, actually a more interesting and a more beautiful product over time. And that's just one of the things, but I think it can also be like more like a story of the previous owner and how he had used the laptop. There's, of course, many different opportunities out there that designers need to explore and see what the options are and how people would respond to that.
So the scratches on the casing would enhance the appearance, or
beautiful scratches.
Yeah,
and it actually makes it more interesting. Of course, our association now with scratches isn't that they're ugly and that it's just damaging the equipment and it's therefore not desirable. But again, if you think of how copper changes, for example, how leather changes, and how certain materials are actually becoming more interesting and more beautiful as a result. So that's a way of bringing a story to a product.
It's interesting you say that, Ruth, but I think from a consumer type product like a laptop or mobile phone or whatever it might be, from a supplier point of view, you need to be able to give everybody the same user experience. Whereas, say, an antique, or in my say an E-type Jaguar, it's a one-off experience. I will go and buy that antique. I will like it. I will buy it, or I will use it. Whereas you might come along and you might look at it and say, it's not really for me. I don't like it. So that really is a consumer-led buying habit, I suppose.
So you suggest more the individual experience.
Because what you perceive to be a value in an antique, I might not see the same value because we're different.
That is definitely true. I don't think there's like a one solution that fits all. I think there's many different solutions that should just be used next to each other. And indeed, as said, I think the performance should be more standardized in a way, but the experience should be much more indeed personalized in order to make it fit with what that specific person wants and needs. And actually, more unique products and more individualized experience are much more interesting for people as well. So this whole storytelling and adding a narrative to a product as a result of indeed the history that it had with the first owner makes it an interesting product too, and therefore also more interesting than just the new one, which is for everybody the same.
Yeah.
And now a different topic. Oh, we have a question here. And it's also a different topic. But other than user perception, so Leo is asking this, other than user perception, are there any other issues, other major barriers, for example, policy barriers that need to be addressed, to enable more remanufacturing and more of reuse and better perception, I guess?
That's a really good question. Thank you, Leo. I think from our side, the process of remanufacturing from the supplier end is peppered in Legality, the movement of e-waste, the movement of other people's waste. Because you don't want it, you see it as retired. Let's say, for example, Ruth, it doesn't mean that somebody else can't use that product. Yet the legal system might see that as e-waste. We are specialists in the movement of e-waste and working with the authorities in that. But that would be one barrier to entry. Another might be the duty of care that large organizations have to their redundant technology. Quite often they will look at the supply chain of how a new machine is built and reference the having clean minerals, let's say, within the new machine, Whereas the e-waste stream, you talked about 4,500 Eiffel Towers being a big problem. How can we get around that? Well, maybe there is something that can be done to make sure that there's a governance where large users of IT have a duty of care to the disposal, not just to whom they sell it on to, but the aftercare beyond that, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you for that. And now back on the topic of technology, and very often we encounter technology in terms of manufacturing as a barrier. So this fast pace of technological development that we already spoke about. But what does it do in terms of enabling remanufacturing and making more possible? Are there new technologies that are making remanufacturing easier, or are making it more cost effective, for example?
One of the leading technologies that I think everyone can associate with is that of, say, 3D printers. When a laptop has stopped being manufactured, the obligation to supply spare parts, let's say, by the original manufacturer becomes less and less as they're supplying newer technology. So the introduction of 3D printing technology allows us to create certain parts of the product. For instance, the feet on the bottom may have been picked off, or then they may have come off originally. Then we can design those and apply those. So 3D printing technology would be one innovation that we've seen a benefit of. Yeah.
Great. We have some more questions coming up. We're going to have a few minutes at the end to discuss them. So do write if you have any thoughts that you would like to share. And a question that I have regarding user perception is whether user perception is changing. I know that, for example, circular economy is becoming more of a mainstream topic, but how are people reacting to that, and how is the perception of used devices changing?
Well, you see clearly, indeed, that people are becoming more interested in sustainability and also seeing becoming more environmentally aware, you could say. We did a study on refurbished smartphones and how much people would be interested in that, in order to see a little bit like, okay, is there a market for it or not? And in our sample, we uncovered that 46%, so almost half of the people, had a positive attitude towards these types of devices. So actually, this suggests that there's quite a clear amount of people that are interested in those devices, and that's, in that sense, it could really help to improve the environment.
So you said 45% of people.
46.
46. Okay, that's a huge number. And
of course, we asked for them for attitude, so not purchase intention or purchase likelihood or something like that. It was like, okay, do you appreciate these types of products?
Yeah, but I guess, I mean, that's an important starting point.
Definitely, yeah.
And a question for you, Steve, regarding business models. Do business models need to change? I know this is a topic that you care about. Do business models need to change in order to make remanufacturing more mainstream? Is there a question about values behind business models?
That's a great question. I guess there were two answers. Firstly, the IT industry is, in terms of PC, it's a generation old now. It's 25 years old, and it operates via leasing models, via pay-per-use models, via pay-per-seat models, and via just straightforward cash. So it's quite a good environment for other remanufacturers to look at how they work. And then you look on the other side of the table, where you maybe look at Yellow Plant and say Caterpillar, who are a great brand. They remanufacture their big yellow diggers, let's say, and the customer experience is not compromised whether they buy new or a remanufactured one. They're just buying a Caterpillar digger. They don't really care. They trust the brand. So from our point of view, It's trying to persuade users, big users of IT, that there is another solution to their IT needs other than just new. You know, they need to consider sustainability within their buying decision.
Thank you. And we have a question from Rupert, from the audience. He's asking, to what extent are, twice yearly software updates a challenge for maintaining ongoing compatibility of older hardware?
We have had no rebuttal about that. So our machines get, when our machines leave our factory, they come with the latest technology, SSD, memory upgrades, the screen has been remanufactured. You would not know it's not a new product. So when they get shipped, they have Windows 10 on them. So having them updated is not a challenge for us. I don't see that as a challenge.
Okay, well, more good news.
Yeah.
And well, Steve, briefly, if you had to give the 3 top reasons why people, individuals, and businesses should go for remanufactured devices, what would they be?
That's a big question. Okay, so when we are speaking to users, whether it is someone domestic or someone out in industry, I think our learning has been to approach it like this. It's firstly, you ask yourself the first question is there a sustainable solution available to me? And have you researched it enough to warrant only buying new? If there is a sustainable solution available to you, then the next logical question is, am I being asked to compromise against buying a new solution? So what that might look like in layman's terms, it might look like I want to buy organic vegetables, but they're more expensive than my regular vegetables, therefore I cannot afford it. The third one is based on value and cost, is can I afford to buy sustainable? And more to the point, can I afford not to buy sustainable? So that might be electric cars, or say Tesla is outpriced for most people. They want the Tesla experience. They want the sustainability of using that sort of auto technology, but they can't afford it. So you know, what we've looked at is approaching it the other way around. Okay, so we provide products that are 40% than the cost of new. They stand up against new in terms of performance and quality, and we've had studies with Cranfield University to sit alongside us to help support our claims. And the third option is they are sustainable, and it allows large business to get involved in the circular economy. But generally, the buying decision comes in from the sustainability director's door and not through the IT director's door, because the IT director has generally adopted a strategy that he is comfortable with, and anything away from that strategy could be seen as a risk. Whereas the sustainability director perhaps understands that change needs to happen and will be pushing that agenda. And our job, I think, as a society is to bring these two together, certainly with our laptops, to bring these two together and show them that they can exist hand in hand. They won't be fighting against each other.
Thank you. And Ruth, what would you say to a business that's considering changing their model to one that increases the reuse of their devices, but they're concerned about whether people would like this or not?
Okay, I would say to them that they can also actually gain something extra from competition at the moment, because competition is not providing these special benefits, and I think they are definitely possible to achieve. So next to the neat financial benefit that we have been talking about, the sustainability benefit, which are actually quite important for many people. So those are also things to consider. You can also, because of this history that these products actually bring, you can also offer something new and interesting, and therefore they can actually gain a competitive advantage next to their competition. And you see actually certain companies doing that, like Patagonia is also selling used devices, and then in that case, of course, their clothing. is selling used clothing, but also in a way that they're actually communicating like these products have like a story, and therefore they're much more interesting. But there are companies that are already taking that step, and I think it's definitely possible for more companies to go in that direction and sell products with new types of benefits.
Great. Well, we're running out of time now, but thank you very much, both Ruth and Steve, for joining us today. Well, we learned, I think, that used devices can effectively compete with new ones, and remanufacturing can keep them in use for many years. And also that many people are actually interested in used devices, and that businesses should definitely consider this. Well, the DIF is just starting, really, and we have lots of exciting sessions coming up, and also that have already gone by, but you can still, well, see them in our website, thinkdif.co. Yesterday, we had a really interesting session about value creation architectures. If you're interested in the topic or would like to know what that actually means, do check it out. Also, next week, Thursday, we are releasing our DIF Disruptive Innovation Festival documentary, System Reset. I found it really inspiring, so I really highly recommend it to everyone. And finally, if you want to find out why you shouldn't cut tomatoes in space, check out the session from last night where they give details about this and much more. Well, thank you very much again to Ruth and Steve, and well, hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.